mom and a daughter, and I also work in sales at Estee Lauder companies. Put on your big doll panties and move on. And in real life, it's not as easy. It really is not as easy. And I remember I had a lot of support getting back to work, but I felt extremely alone because it was hard for people to relate.
I would love to know, and this is our untamed question. What is the worst piece of career advice you've ever been given and maybe even considered?
Okay, so I had to think about this question a bit, and I'm just thinking, I think something that I've heard is follow your passion. Now, as a girl, that speaks to us because we're all about the emotions, right? And I think when someone says follow your passion, here I go.
It's kind of like, follow your heart. That's like, follow your heart, follow your passion.
Yeah. But what I've learned, Kels, is and a lot of what I'm tasked to do in my role at the moment, it requires so much more than passion. It requires grit. It requires resilience. It requires me to dig deep sometimes and apply a lot of my skills and experience that I've learned over time. So I would not advise anyone to just follow their passion. I think it's great to start there. But for you to also know that if you're going to give anything longevity, it does require more than passion.
I love that you said the word grit, because I think so often it's the least sexy thing to say, right? In this job, it's going to require grit, but grit grows us so often.
100%.
And so I think it's so important because passion sounds really cool. It's like, I'd love to
that warm feeling.
Yes, that fuzzy feeling of I absolutely love what I do. But I mean, you'll know, being in business, working, it's not always about just the passion
100%.
And the love for what you do. Very often it's you just have to knuckle down and get the job done sometimes.
And I mean, it's about being vulnerable as a leader and sharing parts of yourself and being transparent and having tough conversations. And in those moments, they don't feel like you're being passionate about what you're doing, but the results that you get it's so much more than just what you may have started with and that passion that you felt about something. So true to your point of what you were saying is sometimes you may be feeling so uncomfortable. It's not that warm, fuzzy feeling, but that's where the growth is happening. And that's where you're taking things to the next level.
Sure. So you're saying now, how many people do you lead at work, let's say? I mean...
So it's all tiered, but I think in my immediate managers team is about, I would say 10.
Okay.
10 managers.
And you're just saying now, you're talking about vulnerability as you lead. How have you navigated that? How have you managed to be vulnerable as a leader, but then not lose? I sometimes feel like there's a fine line between that. So how have you managed to do that and still had people that are just they're on board, they're moving with you, adapting, that sort of thing?
I think that, when people think about vulnerability, it doesn't necessarily mean showing your emotions and your feelings as such.
As a woman,
as a woman, I think that's maybe what sometimes you feel you need to do to show that you're being vulnerable. But I think it means sharing your stories, being brave, being courageous, being open, being transparent. In the hard conversations, it's really to be able to look people in the eye and say, look, this is not working for this reason, but this is where we need to go with this, and being vulnerable in doing that. But I don't think that, you would just be vulnerable with people off the bat. So part of leadership is building those relationships and getting the trust and the buy-in from your team, and that takes time. It takes the skill and the quality in a leader to listen to others also.
Yes.
Because also you want to be very careful with others' vulnerability. And when they are sharing openly with you, you want to be very honest and truthful with how you steward that back, if that makes sense. So I don't think vulnerability is just you see me cry and that's me being vulnerable.
You're vulnerable.
I think it's me being honest, me being transparent, brave enough and courageous enough to be able to look you in the face and say, hey, look, Let's have that tough conversation, but I'm going to walk with you. We're going to go through this together, and we're going to get to the other side. And very often, like me, I do believe over the years, because I've been working in sales since I was 18 years.
Wow.
And I was able to, I got the opportunity to work, straight out of matric, and I hit the sales shop floor. That's where I started from the ground up. So I really got the experience of what it was like working with people from a very young age, but also working with the consumer, facing the customer, understanding the business. And I just think that my level of vulnerability from where I started, and as you grow, it changes and it grows. And every situation and thing that you have experienced, if you're vulnerable to share that with others and to really honestly and truly want to see others rise, like one of my favorite quotes is, I would love, Kelsey, to be a rising tide that lifts up all boats.
Oh, wow.
That's something that's like really the driving force behind my leadership. And, I have seen in my many years that I may not be at the top of my game or where I would like to, maybe the CEO of the company as yet.
That's so well.
But I have seen people under my leadership go before me.
Oh,
and nothing in my entire time of leading is more rewarding than being a rising tide that lifts up others and see them flourish.
Wow.
And I think that I've been able to achieve some of that. I'm not perfect at all. There's so much more to learn. But I think through my vulnerability of just being able to really relate to people has helped me to help others rise, if that makes sense.
That's so beautiful. And I think very often, at least now, and I think for women especially, we feel this competition so often. And it's so different when we look at things like, well, actually it's a collaboration of how we push each other forward, not how we can get ahead of each other necessarily, but it's looking at it far more collaboratively, which I think is quite beautiful. But to your point of vulnerability, I've obviously recently navigated a journey of grief, and you have been a support and just a safe space for me to kind of like, Mal, this is what I'm going through because you experienced something similar. But how would you say you take that kind of vulnerability or grief in the workplace as a woman? Because I think very often it's not spoken about. It's not something that's like, we're just going to like rush head on into this because until it happens, right? Until it happens, it's like, oh, well, now we need to think about this or talk about this. But how maybe have you navigated that, or did you navigate that?
Yeah. So as you know, I've experienced very much what you have. And, as I was sharing with you, I think just as it happened, you kind of have this out of body experience because life is going back to normal, but you're not there yet. And it's just a whole kind of different. Your life was supposed to change because there was supposed to be this baby there, but it's a whole different, there's no baby there, but there is a lot of change that you have to deal with. And I think that in our culture, and I know for me, this was a big thing, you just put on your big girl panties and move on. And in real life, it's not as easy. It really is not as easy. And I remember I had a lot of support getting back to work, but I felt extremely alone because it was hard for people to relate to what I was experiencing, and also I'm a believer and, I needed to have faith and hope, and it needed to happen very quickly. But I was on a journey, walking this out with God. And even though I believed in him so much, and, obviously I didn't go back to work immediately. And I had time really to work through some of the real steps of grief that everyone would go through. God really came through for me, but still from day to day, you feel different. Your experiences are different. One day you're feeling like you can take on the world. The next day you remember you had a baby and that baby didn't come through. And then one day you're seeing the things you bought for the baby. And, it's all of these emotions. But I just think that as I navigated that season in my life, I think one of the things that God helped me to realize is that, Mal, this experience that you're going through it's not a wasted season in your life. It's going to be a very purposeful season. And, I can relate to you so much because I know what it feels like. But I'm so hopeful for you. And I can speak to you with such faith in my heart because of what God did as I surrendered that season to him. And, you know, Kels, I just think we can't do this thing of put your big girl panties on. You're going to have to be vulnerable in the season. And I just got to a place where if I needed to cry, it was going to be okay. I didn't need you to support me. I didn't need anybody to support me crying. It's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
It's okay. You can just watch me, but it's going to be awkward. Let's just awkward. Embrace the awkward.
Yes. I love that.
Because, you know, I know you feel that way, but I'm going to also just have to let this out.
Yes.
And I just trusted God with a lot of things. And I think at work, I chose not to just go through each day and go through the motions. I chose to feel what I needed to feel. I chose to speak about my pain to others. I chose to allow people in to encourage me also when I needed to. I loved hearing the stories, the hope stories that came, you know, out of this whole situation. So many people that went through the very same thing that could never speak about it, but somehow through me speaking about it, gave them strength to speak about it. And that was beautiful. You know, there was a whole community around this thing that I had been able to find and be a part of. And that helped me in my journey. And even today, I think looking back, I just feel like that season of my life filled so much of inner strength within me for everything that was coming, you know, in my life. And I think my faith, you know, with Liak as well, it's a whole story about how he was Muslim and how we got married and things like that, you know, and we came from completely different cultural backgrounds. But how every single thing God does is with purpose and reason. And our jobs are just to trust, you know, and to surrender. And even today, I think these hard pains that we go through, every single one of them helps us to relate to other people better, because it's very hard to relate and be truly empathetic with people if you really don't know.
You just don't have the context.
And you haven't experienced it yourself. So I think this really helps me to be authentic in the way that I am relating to others. And when I say, I truly know, I do, you know, so in some way.
It's not that just like, I know how you feel.
Exactly,
it's like,
you know. So in some way, and it might feel so conflicting, but I'm just grateful for everything, you know, every season that I've had. It's not being wasted.
It's really beautiful. And I think to your point, you don't, like, I had no idea how many women had gone through what I'd gone through. And even though it might look different, it might be at different stages, I think I just started sharing about it a little bit, and then people message and, oh yeah, this happened to me, or this is it, or whatever it is. And all of a sudden it opens up this, you know, pool of people that are actually, I'm looking for connection. I'm looking to actually be able to be in a safe space and to talk about it. And all of a sudden it's like the things that almost feel like they're hidden come into the lights. And it's this beautiful moment of like, oh, there's restoration that can happen here because of the vulnerability and being willing to actually talk, you know, almost like I feel for me, like I just keep wanting to run, like I'm going to run headfirst into grief and what it has, because if I don't, I'm just going to try and avoid it forever because it hurts so much.
Yes.
And it hurts in every, it's like I can't leave grief at home when I go to work. You know, it's like I can try, but there's going to be a moment where maybe I'm sitting in front of my computer and I'm just like, I'm not okay right now. And I don't know why, but it's like, I'm in a safe space. It's okay.
Hey, did you know that you could join the conversation by joining our WhatsApp communities? No, we're not going to spam you. We might share a few gifts, but what we are going to do is build community together as women in business. So scan and join us today.
I can and then it's like, I'll release it and I'll carry on. And it's like, but it's having those moments of like, actually bringing it out and letting grief be what it is and not avoiding it creates so much freedom. And I think space to grow through it, which is not the nice part. But I think it's to your point again, it's like sometimes things just require grit.
Yes.
And you got to be willing to like, this is going to be gritty and we're going to go through it and it's going to hurt, but there's something beautiful on the other side.
Yeah. And I think as girls, we really got to, like, I think some of us do have that expectation, maybe those that haven't experienced this kind of grief, where you may have that expectation, okay, but can we just move on from this? And I think that it's important for us to just be sensitive. I don't know if it's all girls, but we love to talk. We love to share our own feelings, but I think it's really important also to just listen, and understand. And even though it may be difficult for you because you may have not experienced that, but just to give space sometimes to people to feel what they need to feel. And I say this to you, but I'm sure in certain situations I feel the same, because I work with a lot of people who have a lot of baggage. There's a lot happening in the background of people's lives, and I can sometimes also tend to feel, but I've just can we just push forward, because these are things that we're gonna have to get done. But if you just take it from the back first and just kind of understand, okay, where you're at, what's happening, and then move it forward from there, it just makes it so much easier, and the results are so much better. And that's just helping somebody when they're walking through. It's just to, sometimes I feel the pressure of, because I've experienced certain things, do you have the answer?
Yeah, and you're like, I do not have the answer.
have the answer. And we experience things so differently, but I know how to listen. And I think I know how to love you through what I've experienced, because I know what it felt like to have people come and be vulnerable with me in that moment also.
Yeah. Even just you saying that, I think there's something about being able to listen as a leader and not always because I think you want to solve it, you want to fix it, you want to find the answer, right? I think for me it's hey, what is the 5-step process that I need to go through? And it's sorry, it does not exist. So now it's okay, you have to walk through that. But I think to be able to listen as a leader is, that's a skill, I think, that is learned by being intentional about it.
Yes.
But changing tack a little bit, do you ever feel in your role at work, maybe even at home, a sense of imposter syndrome?
Oh yeah, I think I think I am my own worst personal critic.
Yeah.
So you could be sitting here and telling me, Mel, you did a good job, and I'm quickly in my mind analyzing all the things I did wrong, all the things I could have done better. And this is something over the years that I really had to just think about and strengthen within myself, my identity. I can't tell you that it's up to today something I don't struggle with, being my own personal critic. Even just getting the invite to come here, my first thoughts was who am I? Why am I going here? And what do I have to say? And I don't know, and I think I even responded to Rebecca in that way. And I said, I just felt God just put a pause and say Mal, would you just pray about this? And when I prayed, I just felt God say to me you've got to surrender. I feel sometimes you're quite proud about yourself in a way. Yeah. You think you're God perfect, but you are just super imperfect. And I'm going to use your imperfections. I will use your imperfections. You only just need to surrender.
Yes, yeah.
And I think the very next day I said to her, I'm going to say yes. I don't know what I'm capable of. Probably nothing, but I know God will see. And, I don't know why it is that I've always, people have always been able to believe in me so much more than I have been able to believe in myself.
But sorry, just on that. And I think we honestly, we sit and we look at you and we're Mel is a boss.
Wow.
Honestly, it's amazing. And I think there's this, I can't even who you are. It's I don't even know you that well. But for me, it's every time I see you, you're sunshine, and it's just, you radiate. Actually, that's the thing. You're radiant, and you have this big position at work, but it's unassuming. You would never say, oh, this is Mel and what she does. And, so I think to that point, that's why collaboration and being for each other is so important, because I thought about it, and it's we're only at this point because other women and other people chose to believe in us, right? And God's grace, yes. But it is a thing of we can call each other to more in this beautiful way of Mel, this is what I see, and it's so cool, and we get to be a part of this together. But the imposter syndrome, I think, is so real so much of the time.
And to your point, Kels, it's about the people that you come alongside and your community that you put around you, because I have needed girls to come around me that are confident in their own identity, that they
Sure.
can call out something within me. And that's always helped me so much. And I'm so grateful to God, because I feel in his kindness, he's done that for me, because I've shifted. I mean, I grew up feeling like, the friend that you met in class 1 on the playground, that should be your friend for life. That was my mentality. And whenever I lost a friend, it was hard, because I was then again personal critic, asking myself, okay, what went wrong here? Like what happened? But as you grow, you understand that people are in your life in and out for seasons and reasons, but everybody contributes to your journey. But who comes alongside you on this journey is important. And it is really important, like for your community because I just feel like certain people just bring out the best in me, to be honest with you. And if that's the case, then it is important who you have around you. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for girls who can call me out and say, hey Mel, this is not looking great, or that's looking great. And that's always been a big encouragement for me. You need both. You need both.
It can't just be like, Mel, you're amazing. You're amazing. It's like, we have blind spots. We know that. Probably, again, to your point, we're our own worst critics. But I think it's so helpful when you sit and it's like, oh, this is what I can see. But, I can also see this. But the two, they coexist, right?
I've always appreciated great constructive feedback. And I've also seen over the years how my heart has changed, because when you're younger, you don't necessarily take any feedback. And then as you get older, you always know best. And I'm grateful for God to also have transitioned me through and brought me on the other side of that, because feedback is really important. But I think from the side of giving feedback it's important how you do that. It should always be from a place to build somebody else up and not break them down, because we can hide behind transparency also.
Ooh, say that again.
So I'm just being transparent with you.
Be transparent.
Okay, I'll just break you down. No, that's not what it means. You can be honest, and how you deliver the message, it takes time. You've got to think about that, and you really got to see the person in front of you, not just as somebody that works for you, not just as somebody that's employed by the company or whatever, or even in church, not just a volunteer, or you see people. And I think for me, I've challenged myself, not that I do it right, Kels, all the time. Sometimes the pressure outweighs the responsibility of the pressure, can sometimes outweigh what you really want to do and say, if I'm being honest. And that's where sometimes you've got to be so resilient, so planned, and really decide, look, I know there might be some big things that we need to discuss here, but I can really spin this around to build somebody else up.
Sure. I love that. Just talking about the pressure and everything, and maybe a bit more of a fun question. But how do you switch off, or how do you, do you have like a little routine? Is there a time in your day where you're like, hey, now I'm going home to be with my kids? Like, what does some of that look like for you? And maybe an activity that's just like, this is fun, or this is just,
Coming home is definitely one of my most favorite parts of the day, coming home to the kids. I think with everything that I've experienced in my life, I really do feel grateful for the kids, and I feel grateful for the gift of family. But sometimes you walk in and you're grateful all the way home, and then you walk in the door and some of the things that are taking place at home, you're like, oh yeah, I felt a certain way about coming home, and now I don't. Yeah. But I feel very responsible for sort of the atmosphere of our home. And I believe that God has called me as a mom and as a wife of the home. He's given me the authority to kind of change things. So I can walk into a disaster, and I have the authority. God's given me the wisdom. He's given me that ability to change it, So I love coming home, and if the kids are, not in the best of moods, doing things with them, maybe spending some quality time with them if they're missing the connection. And I mean, it sounds all lovely. It's not like that every day.
Yes, yeah.
Like sometimes I'm late, there's no dinner, people are cranky because they haven't eaten. I'm not spending time with the kids then. I'm rushing off to cook.
It's practical,
It's practical. But if you ask me what what is something that helps me to unwind, it's really just spending time with family and, the laughs and the giggles and hearing that in the house and just playing with them and being with my husband. My son thinks my husband and I shout at each other a lot. It's because I am married to a passionate man and he is married to a passionate woman.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the passion again. But yeah, we're very emotional. We're very... what can I say?
Passionate people,
our viewpoint.
Yes,
if I could say it like that. But I was just saying to him, it's funny that the kids sometimes feel like we're shouting at each other when I enjoy those rigorous, challenging conversations with you, where it's heightened and it's passionate. I enjoy it, But so just to unwind is just to be with my kids, be present. Like if I have a moment where I'm truly present and I'm able to not think about anything or not be distracted by anything, because very often I do have work that I have to do after hours or, there's the heaviness of the day can sometimes just be on your mind throughout the day. But when I get home, I try to have that time where I'm just present and unwinding, and that just re-energizes me.
Well, thanks, Mel.
Thank you.
This has been so fun.
It has.
To do like a part 2 and 3 at this stage.
No, thank you so much. Thank you.